America is a nation that can be defined in a single word. I was in the foothills of the Himalayas with Xi Jinping. The percentage of women who register to vote and cast a ballot is consistently higher than the percentage of the men who do so. End of quote. Repeat the line. We're going to seize their yachts, their luxury homes, and other ill-begotten gains of Putin's kleptocracy. Kleptocracy and the guys who are the kleptocracies.
He's got even more trouble with a prompter than I do. So, could Joe Biden manage another 4 years? And what would that mean for Britain and the world? To debate this, I'm delighted to welcome political commentator and the woman known as America's psychiatrist, Dr. Carol Lieberman, plus a man that knows Joe Biden intimately well, Bob Mulholland, member of the Democratic Committee and a longtime friend of President Biden. Mr. Mulholland, welcome to GB News. Do you think that Joe Biden, could he manage another 4 years, politically and physically?
Yes. Well, first of all, he hasn't announced, but we're assuming he'll run. And yes, the answer to that is yes. Remember, Ronald Reagan had similar incidences. Trump had similar incidents, walking down a plank at one of the military academies. So that's normal.
Indeed. I mean, what's your appraisal of his health, Bob?
What's my what?
Your appraisal of his health.
Well, I'm not his doctor. I don't know. I've talked to him numerous times over the years, and I think he's fine. People always say, well, look how, Reagan was in his mid-70s when he ran for a second time. Lots of political leaders live to be in their 90s. So, look, if it ends up to be a presidential race between Biden and Trump, the American people will go with Biden. If the Republicans have somebody that's a governor and doesn't have any problems, it'll be a tougher race. But other than that, again, Biden has announced, but I thought last night was exceptional, and I think the American people thought the same.
However, Mr. Mulholland, you could argue that on his watch, America has become broke and woke.
Last night, I think President Biden made it very clear to the American people, compared to Trump, look how much things are better. As a veteran of the Vietnam War, I always think, well, we don't have our troops actively in a war. We're always supporting people. The economy is going well. Over 500,000 new jobs created last month. Unemployment is as low as when Neil Armstrong walked on the moon in 1969. We're getting COVID under control. Boris Johnson and Trump, they acted like COVID was a 2-day cold and made things worse, including leading to inflation. Of course, the Ukrainian war also was a big factor there, but things are getting much, much better. And it's very normal. Even when Reagan was president, when you ask the American people halfway through, they go, oh, I'm not so happy with. Any problem that an American voter has always falls on the governor of a state or the president. But overall, we're doing much, much better.
OK, well, let's speak to America's psychiatrist, Dr. Carol Lieberman. Joe Biden is fit and well. Nothing to see here.
Absolutely wrong. Last night, and I watched the whole thing, it was embarrassing. It was cringeworthy. I just kept thinking, I hope leaders in our enemy countries aren't watching this, but of course they were. There was, from the beginning, from the time that he started walking down the aisle, teetering, looking lost when he got to the end, they had to point out where the podium was, to his getting up on the stage and mumbling and making all kinds of mistakes. The closed caption didn't even know how to to write what it was that he was saying. It was like America came to Oz for the State of the Union, and we pulled back the curtain, and the Wizard of Oz was the little bald man who, was bumbling and fumbling and didn't know what he was doing. We are in a very, very dangerous situation. To some degree, Americans have gotten desensitized. That I've said on your show that I was trying to warn people from the time that Biden was running for president, from his basement. I told people that he had encroaching dementia, and it has done nothing but encroach further as time has gone by.
How are you able to make that diagnosis not having examined Joe Biden, Carol?
Okay, good question. First of all, I work as a forensic psychiatrist. That's one of my hats. And as part of that, as an expert witness and so on, as part of that, I've had many cases where competency is an issue, for wills and things like that. And so I know the kinds of things to look out for, not only as a psychiatrist, but legally speaking, the kinds of things to look out for to determine competency. And he, for example, last night, besides the physical issues, he forgot, when he first started, he started ad-libbing, which was a mistake. And he started talking about the Super Bowl and about Chuck Schumer, and he got all those things wrong and messed up. And then later on, he talked about the ambassador from Ukraine, and he couldn't remember her name. I mean, these are kinds of things that are part of diagnosing dementia. But, the worst part of the worst problem mentally that he has is, and that people have with dementia, is a problem with abstract thinking. That's the kind of thinking that you need to be able to be a good chess player, for example, where you have to have strategies in mind. And you have to hold these different things in your mind at the same time. He can't even remember the ambassador's name once. So in order to have analytic thinking, abstract thinking, you have to have different plans in your mind. And this was the big reason why he made such a mess of Afghanistan, because he had one idea in his mind, and when that wasn't going, plan A wasn't working, he couldn't jump to plan B or C, or he didn't have any other plans.
Indeed. Well, look, final thought, coming back to you, if I may, Mr. Mulholland. You've got to admit, Bob, that Joe Biden is past his best, and 4 years would be a concern for world security and the welfare of the American people and its economy.
Well, first of all, this woman sounds like she's on Trump's payroll. I guess Trump is a Rhodes Scholar from her point of view. No, I think elections are about elections. And next year, when the American people, I'm assuming Biden will run and is the nominee, I'm not no official announcer here, that the Republicans will have a long fight and more problems will come out, and the Republicans will have a nominee. And then the American people will say, hey, maybe I don't like both of these people, but the choice will be Joe Biden if he is our nominee, if he has announced.